back everybody from taking pees, all three of us collectively, in the same toilet.
Yep.
Even though we're thousands of miles apart. Well, not Graham and I, but comparatively to
Yeah.
Luis, who's in a different time zone. So,
But
all
dude,
right.
I need
After
you.
that
I
great
need you
reintroduction
guys
back in,
to eventually watch Attack on Titan. Everything you just said happens there. That's why I love that shit so much. It's a little,
three guys pee together in the same
yeah.
toilet.
They made a show about it. But everything you're talking about in 1984, because it's a dude. Everything you were saying sounded so familiar, and I was like, why does it sound so familiar? And it's because everything that happens in that book, everything that's described, happens in the show because the show is based off historical events, or it's modeled after historical events. And a
Right,
lot
and
of
that's
that
why I thought,
brainwashing,
or I,
rewriting
yeah,
history, making people, forcing people into a certain regime and having like a secret police that kind of moderates all that. It's basically the premise of the show, which is what makes it so damn interesting to me.
yeah. I mean, the book's awesome. I highly recommend both of you guys
I
read it.
might. That sounds
That's why
awesome.
it makes it so interesting to me as well, because it almost seems like an alternate future, an alternate reality where things were not as freely talked about as today's day and age. I think realistically, if we go back to those series of events that we were talking about in the 50s, if they had happened earlier, and I think if the internet wasn't invented, they could have established much more of a chokehold and a grasp on the general public, and maybe some of those things could have come to
But do you
fruition, to
guys
be
think
honest with
that
you
something
guys.
like that could be even possible now with the internet? I feel like something like cancel culture is something that kind of could lead there because I looked up the book and something that stood out to me was saying that the main central message of that book is that communication is like the key for humanity to, overcome and stay and understand each
Right.
other
Well,
and change and overcome
But the
obstacles.
ability to share information freely is essentially what it is.
mm-hmm.
If you can't share information freely, if you are being censored in some way, in some fashion, you are not truly free in your speech.
which
And you're not. Sorry, go ahead.
which what is crazy is that can be traced back thousands and thousands of years. I would say after the burning of the Library of Alexandria, after all of that previously thought written history was prescribed, now we don't really know whose perspective to
Yeah.
agree on because of all that information is gone. And it's a common phrase used by people about historical concepts. The winners write the history,
Yeah.
right? And it's extremely biased, right? There are multiple other parties part of these historical events, but that reinforces both y'all's points, to where shit's been censored since day one,
Well,
man,
yeah.
because we don't really know who
Well,
to
history is
believe.
written by the winners, man. One of the big things that hit me on that, I know we just got done talking about the Cold War, but that Cold War documentary I watched, one of the big things that kind of hit me was the kind of the reimagining of the uses of the atom bomb in Japan. Like, obviously they were required, or in the time they were thought to be required to end the war, and they did end the war, but the way that it was put to the public was not what it actually was in reality. They put these Hiroshima and Nagasaki as these like big military bases that were a threat, when in reality they were just massive civilian cities, and they were looking for like a big impact to make on the emperor so that he could step down and agree to the terms that the what were they called? Not the Axis powers, the Allied powers, um,
Allies. Hmm.
could uh could enforce on Japan, thus ending the war.
One another thing to add to that, Luis, on top of that too, is that part of the reasoning for putting the atomic bombs in the first place was that the Japanese wouldn't surrender. And that was kind of the identity of many of the Japanese and the Japanese forces was a never surrender
Yeah.
mindset attitude. So the United States was fearing that um, they would have to go basically from island to island, island hopping, which is what they were doing, and it was going to take them a super long time to actually be able to finish the war and complete it. But there are also accounts that I've heard as well about how the Japanese were willing to surrender and were going to surrender even before the atomic bombs were
Yeah.
released. So there's different accounts of what actually happened, and I think personally that it's probably somewhere in the middle in between, but my guess is that whether or not the United States knew that Japan wanted to surrender or not, I think they were going to drop those bombs
Yeah.
either way to send a message to the Soviet Union,
That's a fair point.
essentially, of being the first ones to drop a bomb on somebody else and saying, "This is,
This is what we can do.
I, this is what we can do,"
Hmm.
as kind of a show off to the world almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, an intimidation factor.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes it so scary about this book that you both have to read. I'm telling you, man, it's so good. I did a haul on eBay last year, and they have like I guess I don't know if it's like bookshops that are going out of business or people that use e-commerce a lot, but it's buy three get one free, and these paperback books are literally like $4. So I bought 1984, The Hobbit, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Fahrenheit 451, and maybe a couple other random books. But I'm really looking forward to diving in a couple of those other ones too. I know both of you guys are very into books and movies and media in general, and I'm starting to get back into reading a little bit more, listening to audiobooks. I've been doing that and podcasts a little bit more than music recently, and the amount of information that I'm able to gain from a book is like nothing else. It's great to watch a movie, see a documentary, this and that, but at least for me, I guess everybody's a different, type of learner. I'm very visual. If I read something, that's something that sticks with me a lot better. So, um, yeah, any good books either of you have read recently? I know Graham would like to write one, which would be awesome. And you too,
Yeah,
Luis.
I got back into writing recently too. It's actually my group. I've been reading Name of the Wind. I got back into fantasy. Very good book. I know
Yes.
you Tyler like Harry Potter. I'm not sure if you do, Graham. I feel like fiction's never really been your thing, but it's really good. It's pretty long.
No, not as much. I mean, I still do like fiction books, especially historical fiction books, any type of historical
Yeah,
fiction.
I like.
There's actually,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was gonna say there's actually this Netflix show that I'm watching right now. It's called The Warrior. I
Oh,
don't know if
dude, I just saw the
you guys have
commercial
heard
for
about
it.
it
I
yet.
want to watch it. It looks good.
It's
Okay.
really good. So it's historical fiction. A lot of it isn't true, like the characters aren't real or anything like that, but it is based on. So it's based on Chinatown in San Francisco in the late 1800s,
Interesting.
and there were what they called the Tong Wars. So it was wars between all these different factions of Chinese um, gangs, and they were essentially fighting against each other within one another in the because Chinatown was such a like small area, small space. They were all fighting within one another, and they weren't allowed to go outside of that area because of the prejudice towards Chinese people at the time, and so they weren't really given any other opportunities. So a lot of that resentment and that kind of
Prejudice.
disparagement and prejudice led to this kind of gang affiliated warfare between a lot of the different tongs,
I'll
is what
have
they
to check
call
it
it.
out. I think the last
Interesting.
historical fiction I watched with you actually was the Turn, the Washington Spies. Oh, that was so
Yeah,
good. Have you not seen that
that
yet,
was a really
Tyler?
good one.
I think I remember watching a little bit of it in college
Yeah,
with
it's
you
during the
guys,
Revolutionary
probably in my
War.
bedroom.
Washington,
Yeah, that's right.
when George Washington was recruiting spies. It's so good.
That's another thing to look into too, just in general, the Culver spy
Mm-hmm.
ring. Um, so that's like the techniques that they used during that time and during like on the show. I think a lot of the techniques were very similar to the techniques that they used during that, in the war
Yeah.
itself. And they're very clever. Like, it's kind of almost a new age of intelligence almost. They kind of created this this very low level but highly efficient spy ring that was able to get information, and they used newspapers to send the
Yeah.
messages. Um,
That's crazy.
It's really
yeah,
good. I have to check out Warrior too, though.
yeah, I definitely recommend it. There's a
So,
lot of fighting too. It's like a Quentin Tarantino movie, but in
yes.
a TV show.
Yes, Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 are on Netflix, so I'll have to rewatch those. Love those movies. You know what else just came to Netflix? The
Oh, did
Matrix.
it really? That's awesome.
The
Yeah, I
the
just watched that.
trilogy.
I just
For
watched
the
that the
first
other day.
time? Is that the first
No,
time
no,
you've
no,
seen
no,
it?
no,
Oh,
no.
yeah, I just
When
watched
because
it too.
I saw it
Yeah.
come back on
I feel like
Netflix. I
everyone
was
our
like,
age
oh
has seen
no,
The
I
You
have
want to
to
know the
Matrix.
you want to know the craziest
But
thing? It came on Netflix last week. I watched 1 and 2. Guess who Grace saw in New York City the night before I
no
got there?
way. Keanu?
Keanu
Walk
Reeves.
walking his dog.
Dude. Oh my,
It's like an omen, man.
that's
Oh
fucking
man,
sick. Should have gotten his autograph.
isn't that cool? Well, I mean, I wasn't
No,
there, and like stuff like that, dude. I don't think I'd ever go up to somebody famous
dude,
like that and bother them. To be
That's
honest
fair.
with you,
that and Keanu Reeves is the one guy I would like never do that to, because he literally is
Neo.
just a guy. Like if you, I'm pretty sure there's times where it's like celebrities walking through and like there's tons of fans like wanting to take pictures and stuff, and then it's Keanu Reeves walking, and it's just him walking, and he blends in with
That's how I
everybody
feel like
else.
Adam Sandler
You
is,
know,
dude. They're just
Yes,
humble, man. They're rich as hell, but they're
they're
humble.
just a guy. They're just another guy. They don't make themselves out to be something that
Yeah.
they're
Dude, I
not.
just watched Billy
They
Madison
know
the other
who
night.
they
Oh, it's
are.
so freaking funny.
I haven't seen that movie in so
Oh,
long. That's the one where he goes back to like first grade because he doesn't have any report cards or whatever. He doesn't have any
yeah,
certification
Yeah,
yeah. And then before that, I
of
watched Happy
passing grades.
Gilmore. Oh my God, Happy Gilmore was just as
Yeah,
funny, dude.
that's a great one.
Oh my
watched
God.
that one the other night
I
too.
forgot that the trainer, I forgot his name already. The trainer dies by falling through the window. I totally forgot about that.
Chubbs.
Chubb.
Chubbs
Freaking
Yeah.
Chubbs, dude.
got bit by an
Yeah,
alligator
and
too.
then
Got
Happy
his
kills
hand
it, but gives
cut
him the
off.
head,
And
and the head makes him
Yeah,
freak
happy.
out, so he falls out the window. This shit's so dumb.
Oh man, there's not movies like that anymore,
Dude, I was
man.
just talking about that. That Hollywood just
because
sucks
they're not.
nowadays. There hasn't been a movie come out that I actually
Well, they're
want to
not
see.
profitable. So
That's exactly right, Graham.
if a movie's not profitable, they're not going to make it.
Well, that's the thing. Back in the day, they
Yeah.
would
So what
And
do
if
they
remake the
do?
it's
profits through DVDs, but you can't really do that anymore with streaming sites, and nobody buys DVDs
no,
anymore.
Well, yeah, dude. What are all the movies being released? Fast and Furious 10, Godzilla versus Kong 64. Like, what the fuck am I even going to the movie theater anymore to
Yeah,
watch? I know that the thing that Disney does for the contract with Walt Disney or whatever, where they have to remake the modern classics every 25 years or whatever, that's kind of neat. But outside of that, I think a lot of these other large media titans in Hollywood are just producing shit because it'll call on people's nostalgia and they'll want to go see something that they've liked
yeah. Well,
before.
dude, I feel like
well, That's
Yeah,
exactly
and I
it.
feel like ever since Disney Plus launched, bro, Disney content is just not good. Not good at all. And like I feel like
I agree.
everything's gotten watered down, all the way from their high production to their lower production stuff.
Well, it's going for the safer bet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't, it's low risk, medium reward, instead of a high risk, high reward type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and really it's the studios, um, they don't, they're not going to take as much risk and they don't want to take as much risk in terms of putting tons, millions and millions of dollars into a production if it's not going to level,
Yeah.
match that in the
Yeah.
box office. And there's very little movies anymore that actually, make more money
Yeah. Speaking of high
than it
yielding
does
movies, did you guys watch
than it
Joker?
costs.
Ever?
Yeah.
You did?
The original one. There's a sequel
Yeah, I
coming
was
out.
that's why I asked because I know they're coming out with the sequel, and honestly, dude, I was disappointed
Yeah, I've
because
seen
I
it.
was like, that was the perfect movie to just have a solo movie. You don't need a trilogy. You don't need a series. It's a beautiful, just one and done. You know, because
Yes,
it
I
was
agree.
such a
I
good
agree
movie.
because that was the whole point of his
Yeah.
character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix did
Oh,
phenomenal
so
in that
good.
role as well. I thought he did a great job.
It's sad that most of the movies made nowadays are either just like nostalgic movies, they're remakes, they're sequels, or they're renditions of a book.
Yes.
That's a lot of movies nowadays are just books that are translated into movies. They buy the script for the book and then use that to create the movie.
Yeah, because the
Um,
book was already wildly successful. It's a great
right,
story. Why not adapt it into a movie?
right.
And butcher it too.
So you're not going to see like a Jurassic Park anymore, or any type of those types of movies where, obviously you're going to see more Jurassic Park movies probably in the future because of the franchise is so successful. I just
Yes.
mean in terms of like those types of risks, those types of
Right.
original movies aren't going to exist anymore because it's too much of a risk. Like the
Hmm.
production cost to make that initial movie, they probably wouldn't do that anymore because it would have been too risky. But back
Yep.
then it made sense.
Yep. You want to know what other one I'm sad about is the Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
movies.
Yep.
They overdid that because that concept is fucking awesome, dude. I really do enjoy the concept of that movie. But yeah, I mean, the new stuff now, it's like, did you guys see the trailer for the new one? It's like now humans are nonverbal and run in tribes while the chimps are the ones that run a government and
Yeah.
like have an army and
Yeah.
shit like
Well,
that.
I think the plan was always to go that route, to go with the instead of going the traditional route, the original movies of like, landing in the future where the apes have gone up, starting with Caesar, which I do that first Planet of the Apes movie where they started with Caesar was one of my favorites. That shit was so good. And the next
Yeah.
ones up were pretty good, but I feel like they're making such a slow burn to get to where they want to get that it's like tiresome now. It's like, okay, we already know where the
Yes.
finish line is. Just, get there already. And
Yeah, and I don't feel obligated to go see this movie or a lot of the blockbusters in the movie
yeah.
theater. I don't feel the need to spend $25 for a popcorn, a ticket, and a water to go watch a 2.5 hour long movie that's going to release in 4 months onto a streaming service that I already pay for. I have a 65-inch TV, It's not as big as the movie screen, but I'm sitting
Got
closer, right?
popcorn at home, got
Yeah.
soda at home.
He breaks when you
Yeah.
want.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can pause the
You
movie.
pause the movie.
Yeah, which sucks because I actually love going to the movies. I mean, dude, I
I do
remember when we
too.
all went to go
I did
watch.
have a shitty experience the last
I
time
remember
I
we went
went
to
though.
go all go to watch Infinity War, dude. That was so hype. There were like
Yes.
20 of us.
Yeah, we sat in the front
Yeah,
row. Yeah.
Yeah,
dude.
I remember the last half of the movie because Ben and I had to go to the bathroom, so we just sat because it was actually kind of tough to see. Like my neck was kind of strained being
Yeah, I
in
remember
the
Yeah,
front
something like
row,
that.
so I was like I'm just gonna sit back and we just ended up like standing like in the aisleway in the entryway to the movie theater, just standing there and watching the movie from there instead of going back to our seats.
Honestly, I don't even remember that. I was probably so like encapsulated by the movie.
Oh, it's such a
That
good
was
movie,
awesome.
dude.
It was
Yeah.
such a
Dude,
good
the last
movie.
Marvel movie I saw in theaters was Black Panther 2. And even then, I didn't see the other ones that came out before it. But like all the new ones look so bad. Like I think the Captain Marvel movie just completely bombed too.
Yeah, man. I remember in college, all of us used to watch those movies all
Yeah.
the time, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all that stuff. And the more I talk to each of you guys now, everybody seems to like have a distaste for it and not really like it
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, they tried to push, not, you know, but when you try to push an agenda on people, like it's like I don't know. They clearly had an agenda that they were pushing of making females more of the lead roles and everything like that. And I totally get like wanting to make females prominent roles, but make it
Yeah,
naturally
that's
in
the
terms
thing.
of like don't force it, don't
Right.
make artificial, characters that aren't even in the original cartoon,
Right.
aren't even in the original.
Create a different story, highlight the heroine as the main protagonist, like create a new concept, right? It's not well, I guess I was going to say it's not that difficult, but
Well, it
apparently it is,
isn't that
you
difficult
know, to
because
come
I
up with
think
an
the
original
main
idea.
problem is that they focus too much on the lead being so focused on the fact that she's a woman and that she can do anything. It's like, okay, dude, we all know that already. Show us that she can do anything, you know? Show us like her being strong and overcoming not just like physical barriers, but like mental barriers too, you know? Instead of just giving, because a lot of
Not
things too,
only
what, sorry, I would say a lot of times too, what they just end up monologuing, and dude, that's when like, I feel like that's when everybody just fucking hates it. It's like, dude, I didn't come in here to get a speech. I came here to watch some dope action and watch someone be cool as fuck. I don't care that it's a woman. Just the fact that, you know, that action sequence was really well done.
Right.
not only that, but I think part of it too. I don't know if you guys agree with this or not. In terms of likability of characters in a franchise, I personally think that the likability of Marvel characters in the Marvel franchise, in terms of the movies that are made, for the most part, is not very good. Like, they don't portray the characters in a great light oftentimes. And so, because of that, you don't get as much of an attachment to the characters. And I think that, to me, that has something to do with it because in a lot of the movies, they make the antagonist somebody that was hurt, that was affected by something that the Marvel
Yeah,
character did. So the Marvel character was
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the disdain of that person. So
Yeah.
to me, it makes the Marvel characters look less likable. And so if you're making movies about these characters, you want to kind of prop them up in a sense, almost like the United States military does with their military movies. It's like, why wouldn't you do that with your superhero? I understand you're trying to like create a more connective story,
Yeah.
I guess, is
Yeah.
what they're trying to do, but you draw away the incentive of people going to see the movie in the first place. They want to see Superman be victorious. They want to
Right.
see the hero come out and win.
I think that is an attempt to make, you know, superheroes feel more human to the audience. Wow, they messed up this and, you know, they ruined this person's life, so they're coming back to avenge whatever. And that's basically the main storyline in 80% of the stuff that they do. It gets old. It's repetitive. I totally get your point. I never really thought of it like that. I dislike it for different reasons, but I do agree with you. I think that them connecting it in that manner, especially over and over and over again,
Yeah.
doesn't create a great
Well, I think it's
storyline.
something that connects perfectly, which I was going to say, but it connects perfectly to what Graham was saying. Is the reason you can't connect to these characters is because there's no central theme. Like a lot of the most loved characters, when I'm going with the beginning, like Captain America and Iron Man, you connect with them because it's a greedy man. Starting with Iron Man, a greedy man that only thinks about himself and his success. Going humble and work and doing exactly what he used to be doing, but for different reasons, for the people, to protect others. And then there's Captain America. It's like it's not just about your physicality, but it's about your soul, your inner strength, how you truly portray that. And a lot of these new ones, it's more like, oh, there's a big bad guy, let's go beat up the big bad guy. But there's no actual central theme to what the character represents. And even with like the Guardians of the Galaxy
Yes.
movies, one of the reasons that trilogy was one of my favorites is because they had those central themes. The first one was about finding a family with the people closest to you, like creating a family with the people closest to you rather than just relying on your blood. And then the second one, it's like about fatherhood. Like, who is your real father? The person that was there, or your biological, relative.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. Oh, the third one was kind of the same as the first. It's the family, found family rather than lost family. And sacrifice. So they had these central themes that the main characters are working towards and growing, whereas once like Captain Marvel and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was really no main theme to it. It's more like there's these badass characters that gotta live up to their big power, but they're not learning any lessons. They're just trying to get better at fighting other people. And I think that's one of the reasons
Right.
the
And I
first
think
Thor
that,
bombed so much too.
yeah, I think that connects to what Graham was saying as well, with the antagonists and the newer stuff being created from the protagonists in earlier films or movies or I guess even stories that connect to the rest of the plot.
Did you guys ever watch the Spider
Well,
Verse movies?
say
Oh, you
no.
should. They're so good, dude.
I always get shit from Luis because I haven't seen any of them.
Bro, they're so good.
I haven't seen any of the Tom Holland Spider-Mans. My sister and my dad dog on me every time I see him. Tyler, have you watched the news? Have you watched Tom Holland Spider-Mans yet? I'm like, no,
No, they're
dude.
not the
Like,
Tom Holland
I,
Spider-Mans.
well, I know, but I'm saying I haven't seen anything
Andrew
after.
Garfield
I haven't
ones.
seen anything after Tobey Maguire and Andrew
Gotcha,
Garfield.
gotcha.
That was my point. I'm sorry. I should have
Yeah.
prefaced with that. Yeah, they give me shit all the time,
No,
dude.
Bram, you don't know which movies I'm talking
Why
about?
do I need to watch eight? There's like 8 or 9
They're
Spider-Man
there.
movies. Like that's too. I don't need to see all those damn Spider-Man movies. I know the storyline. Like, it's like what's you're changing the actors. The story's still the same. It's just a different villain, but it's still gonna end up
Yeah.
in the same
That's actually
outcome.
one of the
Like,
reasons I did like the new Batman movie though. The one with Robert
Robert
Pattinson.
Pattinson.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen
it's
it. Was it
good
good?
because and I liked it because it starts similar to the Batman Begins where it doesn't fully focus on, his origin. It's like he's already
Dude, I love
Batman, but
Christian
he's
Bale.
young Batman. He's still learning.
He's
He's
such a
not
good actor.
perfect. And it's really good because of that. Because, you obviously everybody already knows Batman's origin. So it's like
Hmm.
the continuation of what happens afterwards, which I thought was a great idea. And honestly, I thought Robert Pattinson killed it. I really liked him.
Yeah, I can see him
I thought it
fitting
was
in
a
that.
good movie too.
Yeah. Oh, but the reason I brought up the Spider-Verse movies was because those also have central themes and dude, artistically, they're a masterpiece. With the score and the visuals, dude, oh my God. Amazing.
I have heard great things on the
Yeah.
internet
No,
about it.
I genuinely think you guys would like them because they're very well made. They're entertaining from beginning to end, and they're pretty short too. I want to say they're all about 90 minutes. There's only two
Oh,
of
that's
them.
not bad at all. All right,
Sure.
one last question, maybe the most important question of the day. Who is your favorite actor? And I can only have
Tom
one
Hardy.
name. Luis with the quick
Dude,
one.
he's
Damn,
him
I wasn't
and
expecting
him and
it.
It's
Leo.
gonna take me a
Him and
second.
Leo are like right there.
Christian Bale's my favorite actor.
Oh, dog, that's a really good one.
I don't necessarily have a favorite actor, but the one that comes to mind for me is an actor that I really like a lot is Joe
Joe
Pesci.
Pesci.
Yeah,
That's a
that's a
good
good
one
one too.
too.
Older dude. But yeah,
Older guy, but
he's in some crazy good
Wait, I
shit.
might change mine to Leo. I love
he's
Leo,
in a
dude.
lot of
He's
the Martin Scorsese gangster films.
Yep.
He's also in Home
yeah.
Alone.
No, he's
Yeah,
so
He's in My
I
good.
Cousin
forgot about that.
Vinny. He's in JFK, the the movie about the JFK assassination.
Well, didn't Joe Pesci
Um,
help write Goodfellas?
I think
Yeah,
so, yeah. I mean, he was one of the main
yeah.
characters in
Because
it.
I think it's based. Is it him or is it the other main character whose life
No,
is?
it's based off of Henry
That's what it
Hill's
is.
character.
Yeah,
And Henry Hill like was a real guy that got put into witness
yeah.
protection and told his
But
story, and his story basically became the
yeah, no. But
Goodfellas.
I changed mine to
Wait,
Leo. Both
really?
Leo and Tom Hardy
Yeah.
are in like my favorite. They're both in my favorite movies. But I think Leo is in more of my favorite movies. Dude, like Django,
Also another
the Revenant, freaking The
Mm.
Departed,
another favorite actor of mine would be Tim Robbins. I don't
Tim
know if you've ever
Robbins.
heard of him. He's in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, his face looks familiar. What else is he in?
He's in Bull Durham. He plays the Nuke
Oh, he's
Lelouch.
in Top Gun.
He's in Top Gun. Interesting. Uh, yeah, dude, Christian Bale's got to be my favorite. He just plays a lot of my favorite roles. Like Graham's favorite movie. I thought that'd be a good one to reference. You know, it's hilarious. Ben sent me a Snapchat 2 days ago, and it's us in the 7-Eleven with you with the Big Short DVD.
The Big Short.
And I just love his character in a lot of those films. He's like this super weird, like genius that just is like fucking fucks everything up. Can I use the F word anymore?
You can bleep
I
it
love
out.
him in Ford vs Ferrari too.
He
Michael,
was good in
I
that
haven't
too.
seen The Machinist yet, which is crazy because he stars in that as well.
This also
Oh,
was
do you
Christian.
know what? This is the one I was thinking of. Yes, yeah. I'm looking at Christian
Oh,
Bale stuff. Dick Cheney in Vice. Have you
I don't
seen
think I've seen
Vice?
Vice.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you should see it. It's on Hulu, I believe, and it's about Dick Cheney's rise to power and basically his trajectory to the vice presidency under Bush,
Interesting.
which is crazy. I
Tyler
think
Perry's in this.
not all of it is true, but I think it's based on a lot of very
Yeah,
true facts.
historical fiction.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne, American Hustle. Have I seen that? Yeah, I've definitely seen that. That was awesome too. Irving Rosefield, American Hustle. Uh, I haven't seen. Have I seen The Fighter? I have seen The Fighter because that's where his brother is like a really good southpaw. Um, yeah, but yeah, Christian Bale's my favorite. Graham, what did you decide? Or Tim Robbins or Joe Pesci? And then Luis, what's your final answer? You know,
Leonardo.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
I just
Yeah,
rewatched
he's
Shutter
pretty
Island
awesome.
2 and it was so good.
Oh,
So
dude, I suggested to my sister to watch that for the first time because she's into like the thriller
oh
type stuff.
dude, that's like one of the best horror
Oh
movies
man.
ever. That plot twist
I mean,
was crazy.
the second time around, there's so many indicators, but you don't know. I mean, there's no way you pick up on that the first time. Oh my god.
Great movie. Great.
See, like that's the new original content we need in
Yeah.
Hollywood, dude. Like, could you imagine if another film as crazy as that came out? I know Oppenheimer did really well in the box office, but that's like your traditional war military
Yeah.
movie. You know what I mean? That's like usually gonna have
And
success.
And
looking
it's
for
based on
something
true
more.
See,
events.
like the next,
Right.
what I want to see is like the next Blair Witch Project. Like, there's some kid that creates this YouTube movie that's maybe 50 minutes long or an hour long or some shit, and just posts it on YouTube, and it gets like 200 million views and goes super viral, and ends up making, a movie out of it, or something like that. Like that, I feel like that's bound to happen at
Yeah,
some point,
probably.
where somebody puts in maybe 20,000, 10,000, $20,000 into a production,
I
and
bet
then
you
it
it
ends
has
up
happened.
just probably.
I bet
I
you it's
mean, I
happened
haven't heard
already.
of, I haven't heard of anything
Maybe
like that. I
nothing to
mean,
the scale of what you're talking about, but I'm sure independent investors and people invested in the arts are
yeah,
doing stuff like that.
no, yeah.
But
But what I'm saying is they're not making a
yeah,
lot of profit. You're not getting a super large audience where, you have people flocking to the
It's about
movie
the
where
right.
arts.
everybody's talking about it.
True. It's true. It's about the art form. Not anymore though. It's all about the money.
That is the
That's the
problem.
problem. Nobody's going out and risking their neck on a project that's like specific to them, and they're willing to go all out and step out on a limb and really engage the process and create something meaningful and thoughtful and just very thought provoking. Tarantino is really
Oh,
good at
dude,
that,
the
but
best.
even now, I feel like his latest movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just wasn't up to the caliber of his
Really?
previous stuff.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as a
Well,
lot of the
yeah,
other
compared
ones.
to his other.
Well, there wasn't as much action or gore except for that one scene in the house when the teenagers come
Yeah,
in.
well, that was pretty much it. Yeah, except for the
Um,
fight with Bruce Lee.
that was pretty much
Yeah,
it. But even then, that was pretty crazy. That was a pretty
yeah,
crazy
that's when
scene.
Tarantino
But
came out. That's when the real
yeah,
Tarantino came out. But
All right, so let's do a little recap of everything we talked about since we talked for almost 2 hours here. So Graham started us off with a good recap of the Israel-Palestine conflict. We kind of went through the origins of Zionism to what we're kind of seeing today in Iran launching missiles at Israel and saying to basically knock it off, or this is going to be a full-scale war. And then we dove down some rabbit holes and started talking a little bit more about World War II and the JFK assassination and the Cold War and communism and Nazi impact and scientists and all kinds of crazy shit
propaganda
and
propaganda, which I
propaganda,
think propaganda led us into
in 1984.
entertainment.
which led us to
Yeah,
1984, which very much have to recommend to anybody out there interested in science fiction, historical fiction. I think both of those are kind of under that umbrella.
you said it's on Spotify.
No, this one is, I have paperback. It's called Chaos, Charles Manson, and the History of the CIA is on Spotify. Highly recommend that as well. This guy basically details his findings for, I think it's 23 or 25 years of journalism, trying to document the Charles Manson case, uncovering a ton of evidence, getting people to admit to wrongdoings and that the government was involved in illegal ways, dozens of things. They bring up Jack Ruby. Why can't I remember something to do with Jack Ruby? I don't know. But I don't want to get too
Yeah,
off topic, but maybe you guys listen to that. We can talk about that next time. It was like 13 hours, but I just listened to it when I'm doing the monotonous work of the day,
Yeah, I'm
filling out my
still listening
spreadsheet.
to the Devil's Chessboard right now.
Oh, that's right. How has that
I
been?
mean, it's good. I mean, it's 24 hours on
Yeah.
audio, so I'm about halfway through it right now. But
Oh, so we're pretty much at the same. That's hilarious because I was
yeah,
12 hours 45 minutes. You're about 12 hours into it. That's funny. Since the last time we talked, we both listened to about the same amount. Yeah, so I think next time, let's do some reading. Let's maybe pick a book and
Yeah,
talk
I was
about it.
actually, that's
That
funny you
would be
say that. I was gonna
fun.
say maybe we should reestablish the book club. And, and
Once a month. Let's do once a month podcast book club. Absolutely.
all right, we should pick up at a book then. If the listeners have any recommendations, let us know. Maybe preferably
Yeah.
historical, something historical. That way we can kind of, look up more stuff and find out.
Graham wants to read The Count of Monte
Oh,
Cristo.
dude, me too. But that's a massive book. That's the thing.
No, I was making a joke because it's like
I
1,200
know.
pages.
But dude, I have been wanting to read The Count of Monte Cristo.
I've read
It's
it in like seventh grade, so I didn't even comprehend half of it, but I read the whole thing. My pea
There's this
brain was
book
too
I
small.
have. I don't know if you guys would be able to find a copy of this book, but it's called A History of the Modern World. And my grandfather gave me this book, and it's like almost 1,000 pages. But it's basically a history of from ancient time to present
Who
day.
who's it
yeah.
by?
Um,
Oscar Browning?
I have one by
let
Joel
me double
Colson right
check.
here.
No, R.R. Palmer.
R.
A
R. Palmer.
History of the Modern World.
R. R.
R.
Palmer?
Palmer?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It was copyrighted and published in 1950.
I can get one on eBay for $8.
Put it on.
Interesting. Oh, here we go. Here's one that's cheaper. $5.70. All right. This is something that seems interesting, but it's also quite long.
Maybe pick something small.
So maybe I was gonna say I put it in there because that's something I would eventually like to read, but maybe something
Yeah,
a
that's
tad
why
smaller.
I literally just had it there. We should choose that book. We should probably choose something a little
Well,
smaller, but maybe like over time, if you guys start, reading that book, we could talk about some of the things
yeah.
in that book because a lot of the history of yesterday, leads to what's going on today. So a lot of it impacts
Yeah.
what's going on
Well,
today.
maybe let's create a
Yeah,
Google Doc list
absolutely.
then, and then maybe we can get Hunter as well engaged in this. Maybe Nick and Fish, and we can have like a little
Yeah,
group.
I think this is something that could work pretty conducively with all of us. To be honest with you, I think a lot of our friends enjoy history, enjoy reading, enjoy discussing, not necessarily hot topics and opinionated things, but like I think all three of us are relatively on the same page when it comes to a lot of this stuff, and that notion is to have an open mind and just to be reactive of kind of the information that you're receiving or taking in. And I think we all three of us form our own individualistic opinions, and it differs just a little bit enough for us to disagree on small things, which engages conversation. I think overarching, you know, the three of us have pretty similar understandings of what's going on. Not necessarily views or opinions or biases, but a relative general understanding of the world and the fucked up shit that's been happening throughout society over the course of the past, I don't know, even 50 to 100 years, if longer than that, to be honest with you.
So I agree.
So it's important for us to have these discussions so other people can listen and form their own opinions on stuff like that, right? I think as we, get further into the modern world, censorship's a real legitimate issue, and things are being suppressed. And I don't think that's the right way to go. I think that if we do a better job between discerning fact and fiction, that's a much better route to take. Like, give people the facts. Don't try to influence their opinions by shoving shit down their throats, like we were talking about earlier. The general public's going to be upset about that. So I think that a long form podcast like this is a good medium to spread that intuition and that knowledge. And I really appreciate you guys, taking your time to do something like this with me. I mean, it's a huge passion of mine. I know you both know that, and you guys share it as well. But I always shout you guys out all the time in other podcasts, and I just really appreciate you doing this with me. I really do.
But
But
yeah, dude, it's great.
yeah, it's been almost 2 hours. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great to
this is
list.
a quite a conversation.
Yeah.
I know you guys. We could talk like this for another 2 hours. So,
Probably.
but we should probably just cut this off here and then set up another time for us to go back and maybe figure out a book that we can look into.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And for all you listeners out there, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, your long, hard work day, your 9 to 5, or your hustle grind, or whatever you're doing out there. Keep doing it. This is a motivational podcast. Just keep doing what you're doing. Make that money. Get that grind. No, but anyway, like we appreciate you taking the time to, hang out with us, listen to what we have to say, and hopefully we'll jostle your opinions just a little bit on something, take in a new perspective. But thanks, everybody. Appreciate having both of you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next
Yeah.
one.